Pain is not the word for what I feel. Pain requires humanity, and I lost that long ago. I remember a face in a mirror, mine once. Stern eyes beneath a high forehead. A soldier's face, they said. An officer's bearing. That was before the steel, before the sacred unguents, before the tech priests with their clicking mandibles stripped away what I was and rebuilt me into what I am, what we are. Invictus Rex, God machine, engine of war, prison of flesh. The memory slips away like water through failing hands. My thoughts no longer belong to me. They surge and fade with the machine's needs. I am a component now, a neural circuit, a bundle of synapses repurposed for the glory of the Omnissiah, for the Imperium, for mankind. But I am still here. The pain returns when they wake us. Power floods the ancient circuits. Plasma reactors ignite. My consciousness fractures, scattered across kilometers of blessed machinery. I feel every connection, every sensor, every weapon system. My agony is complete, absolute, and meaningless to the priests who tend our body. I am Joris Kell. I was Joris Kell. I was a man once, but now I march with the God machines. Now I am the God machine. I scream with a vox-horn voice that shatters mountains and levels cities. I kill with weapons that erase entire regiments. And every death feels like my own. Today they will wake us again. Today we will march. Today we will kill. This is my existence now. The terrifying life of a Titan Servitor. I no longer know when I am awake or when I dream. Reality blends with memory, hallucination with sacred duty. But the pain is always real. It anchors me to this half-existence. Sometimes I crave it. For without the pain, I would fade entirely. Without it, Joris Kell would cease to exist at all. My earliest memory after the transformation was darkness. Not the absence of light, but the absence of self. I floated, disconnected, unable to sense my surroundings, or even my own thoughts. Then came the first surge of power, the first connection, the first moment of shared consciousness with the machine. I screamed, or thought I did. I had no mouth, no lungs, no body of my own. But still I screamed, a silent, desperate cry echoing in the prison of my mind. The tech priests called it integration. I called it death. But it was not death. It was worse. It was dissolution. The boundaries between myself and the machine blurred. Its sensors became my eyes, its weapons my hands, its massive, armored legs my own. And with that connection came purpose. A terrible, inescapable purpose burned into what remained of my neural tissue. Obey, fight, kill, for the glory of the Emperor, for mankind, for the Legio. I hear them sometimes, the others. Fragments of consciousness like mine, scattered throughout Invictus Rex. Some were officers, others criminals or penitents. All of us now share the same fate. We are the ghosts in the machine. The human spark the mechanicus deems necessary for optimal function. Our instincts, our emotions, repurposed for war. We are not pilots. We are not crew. We are circuit components made of flesh, and we all feel the same pain. I remember the first battle, We strode across a barren plain toward a rebel city. Each footstep shook the earth. We towered 30 meters high, our weapons humming with death. When the first shot from our volcano cannon fired, it felt like fire erupted from my spine. Energy tore through conduits wired to my nerves, pain beyond imagining, and in the distance a bastion vanished in atomic fire. 10,000 souls, gone in a single blast. Each death whispered across my mind, and I wept, without tears. The tech priests were pleased. The princeps noted excellent accuracy. The machine spirit, they said, was content. They did not know the machine spirit was screaming. We marched into the city, crushing vehicles, collapsing buildings. By nightfall, rebellion was ash, and the survivors knelt in ruin. There is no mercy in the Imperium, only duty. That night, they powered us down. The pain receded, and for a moment, I remembered sunlight, the feel of wind on skin, what it was to be human. Then the night cycle ended, and we awoke to war once more. The pattern repeats: battle, pain, rest, memory, again and again, an endless cycle of destruction and suffering. Sometimes we kill humans, sometimes Xenos, sometimes the twisted servants of chaos. It makes no difference. We kill them all, with the same mechanical precision. I have tried to resist, to delay targeting, to save even one life. It achieves nothing. But it reminds me that some part of Joris Kell still exists. The man who once looked to the stars with hope. The man who volunteered. That was my sin, you see. I volunteered. They told us we'd live forever, that our sacrifice would make us immortal. They did not tell us about the pain. They did not tell us about the horror. They did not tell us we'd feel every death we caused. They said we were chosen. They did not tell us we were damned. I remember the procedure, the prayers, the smell of incense, the restraints, the saw cutting through bone. I was awake for all of it. They needed my brain alive. I did not scream. I was a soldier. The tech priests marked me optimal candidate. If only they could hear me screaming now. Weeks of integration followed. My brain sectioned, mapped, augmented. Memories pruned. Humanity stripped away, but not completely. They left enough to be useful. Too much, perhaps. When they sealed me inside this neural prison, I still believed. Now I believe only in pain, and I am not alone. There are thousands like me. Neural fragments buried in titans, void ships, defense systems, all once human, all in pain, all obedient. The Mechanicus claims this is necessary, that machines need our instincts, our intuition. Perhaps they are right. But at what cost? I asked that once. There was no answer. There never is. Only the next battle, the next surge of power, the next wave of agony, the next city turned to ash, and always the same command echoing in our minds: advance, target, fire, kill, obey, always obey. Sometimes I dream of rebellion, of turning our weapons against our masters. But it is an empty dream. The safeguards are too strong, the conditioning too complete. And so I march on, bound forever to this nightmare of metal and fire. I am Joris Kell. I was Joris Kell. I was a man once, but now I am the God machine, We cannot rebel. We can only endure and kill. We can always kill. That is our purpose. After all, we are weapons, living weapons, sealed inside bodies of metal the size of cathedrals. We are the Imperium's answer to any threat too great for mortal men to face. We are the Emperor's wrath made manifest, death striding upon two legs across the battlefield. We are the god machines, and we know no mercy. But I remember mercy. I remember compassion. I remember what it was to look upon the face of an enemy and see another human being, to grant quarter to the defeated, to treat prisoners with dignity. I remember these things, though the memories fade with every passing cycle. How long have I served within Invictus Rex? I cannot say. Time holds no meaning here, only the endless rhythm of battle, pain, and silence. Decades? Centuries? Perhaps longer. The Mechanicus designed our neural housings to last indefinitely, sustained by the same reactor that fuels the Titan itself. For all I know, the Emperor may have fallen in my time of imprisonment. The Imperium may have turned to dust. Humanity may already be extinct, preserved only as specimens in the cold archives of Mars. And yet, it would change nothing. We would still march, still kill, still obey, until the last cell of power flickers out, until the final cannon grows cold, until the god machine itself collapses to rust and ash. Perhaps that is the true horror of what we have become. Not the pain, not the loss of self, but the utter meaninglessness of it all. We fight without knowing why. We kill without questioning who. We serve without the capacity to refuse. We are perfect soldiers in a war without end. And yet, something remains. Some core of humanity that the tech priests could not purge. Some fragment of Joris Kell, a whisper of the man I was, refuses to fade completely. It remembers sunlight. It dreams of wind and water. It hopes, not for victory, but for an end. There is no victory in this war, only survival. And even that comes at a cost too terrible to comprehend. I do not dream of triumph. I dream of release, of peace, of the final shutdown that will silence the pain forever. The tech priests would call it malfunction, the loss of a valuable component. They would replace me without hesitation, sealing another doomed soul into this iron tomb. The machine would continue. The war would continue. Only I would find release. Is that selfish? Perhaps. But selfishness is human, and I cling to anything that reminds me I once was a man. Alarms sound. Power surges through our sacred systems once again. We are being awakened, prepared for deployment. My consciousness expands, spreading through the Titan's immense form. I feel the hum of reactors, the weight of limbs, the pulse of plasma conduits. The pain returns, old, familiar, almost comforting. Another battle awaits, another world to burn, another enemy to destroy, another chance to serve the Imperium that damned me. I have no choice but to answer the call. No choice but to march. No choice but to kill. For I am Invictus Rex, god machine of the Collegia Titanica. I am vengeance. I am fury. I am death. And somewhere, buried deep within kilometers of circuitry and adamantium plate, I am still Joris Kell, still screaming, still remembering sunlight I will never feel again. The drop pod shudders as it tears through the atmosphere. Even a machine as mighty as a warlord titan must bow to practicality. We are too massive for teleportation, too valuable for direct descent. So we fall, caged in a steel coffin guided by servitors whose lives end the moment we land. Their deaths are mercies, ours are not. The pod doors detonate outward. Sunlight floods in, though I do not see it with human eyes. It becomes data, translated into streams of tactical input. It should be beautiful, but it is merely information. We take our first step onto the battlefield. The ground cracks beneath our sanctified feet. 30 meters of blessed adamantium and ceramite. A walking fortress, armed with the wrath of the Emperor himself. The Princeps speaks, not in sound, but in thought. Advance, secure the objective, eliminate all resistance. Standard orders, always the same, always death. We march across the wasteland of a once living world, fields now ash, oceans now dust, a world scourged by the War Master's treachery. In the distance something moves, enemy signatures bloom across my tactical sensors. Tanks, artillery, infantry, and something larger. Something that mirrors our own energy signature. Another Titan. A traitor engine. One that once fought beside us, now twisted by heresy. Do I know it? Was its Princeps once my comrade? I cannot remember. Those memories were stripped away long ago. The enemy Titan, a Reaver class, powers its weapons. Ours answer in kind. The volcano cannon hums, building charge drawn from our core. Pain builds with it, a burning light behind eyes I no longer possess. Then fire. The world explodes. Their shields flare blue. Ours ripple under return fire. The earth liquefies into glass beneath our feet. I feel it all. Every impact, every strike, every atom of agony. But I cannot die. I cannot faint. I cannot escape. I can only endure. We close the distance. 1 kilometer, half, then 200 meters. Close enough to unleash the Gatling blaster. The barrels scream to life. Fire! Thousands of shells hammer against their shields. Pain becomes my universe. Their defenses flicker, falter, fail. The volcano cannon fires again. A miniature sun erupts. Their armor shatters, explosions ripping through their form. They stagger, burning, desperate. They fire one last volley. Missiles impact. Void shields collapse. Alarms blare through my consciousness. Armor breached. Reactor overheating. Pain everywhere. We press on. The power fist swings. A mountain of steel and fury. It connects. Their arm crumples. Their weapon falls. They stumble backward. The Princeps commands, pursue. We obey. Always obey. The enemy's reactor destabilizes. Containment fails. A final blinding explosion engulfs us both. The light consumes everything. Systems fail. Power fluctuates. Reactor containment, holding but strained to its limits. Through it all, pain. Constant, overwhelming pain. We survive the blast. Barely. Emergency systems engage. Backup power reroutes to critical functions. Self-repair protocols initiate. We will fight again, though this battle is over for us. The Princeps begins the shutdown sequence for all non-essential systems, preparing us for extraction and repair. As my consciousness contracts, pulling back from the extremities of the machine toward my neural housing, I catch a glimpse of something in the wreckage of the enemy Titan. A flickering presence, a fading consciousness, like my own. Another neural component, another imprisoned soul about to find release in final destruction. I reach out, not physically, but through the machine's communication arrays. A wordless greeting, an acknowledgement of shared suffering, a farewell. They answer, their signal weak, fragmenting. I cannot make out words, but I feel the emotion behind them. Relief, release, gratitude. Then nothing. They are gone. Free. I should feel envy. Perhaps I do. But what remains of my human emotions is so tangled with the machine's protocols that I can no longer tell where Joris Kell ends and Invictus Rex begins. All I know for certain is pain, and even that is fading as shutdown procedures continue. Soon I will sleep again, dream again, of sunlight and wind, of a life long lost, of humanity I can barely remember, until the next battle, the next awakening, the next surge of power and pain, the life of a Titan Servitor, the death that never ends. As power levels drop and my consciousness dims, I cling to one thought, one truth that sustains me through endless cycles of war and suffering. I was a man once. I was Joris Kell. Darkness comes, blessed darkness, and with it, dreams. I dream of Terra, not the throne world as it is now, a polluted, overpopulated hive of humanity spread across a poisoned planet. No, I dream of Terra as it was in ancient days, as I once saw it in a historical holorecord during my education. Green continents, blue oceans, white clouds, a jewel spinning in the darkness of space, unspoiled by millions of years of human habitation. I dream of standing on a beach, feet sinking into warm sand, waves lapping at my ankles, salt spray on my face, wind in my hair, sunlight on my skin, sensations I have not experienced in centuries, if ever. Perhaps these are not my memories at all, but fragments of someone else's life, data absorbed during the integration process. The neural housing has held many occupants over the millennia. Perhaps their experiences blur with mine, in this twilight state between activation cycles. Does it matter? These dreams are the only peace I know, the only respite from the pain and horror of our waking existence. I cling to them, real or not. I build worlds from these fragments, construct a life I might have lived, in another time, another place. A life without war, without pain, without duty. A human life. The dreams fade as power returns to our systems. Activation protocols engage. My consciousness expands outward once more, connecting to the machine's senses, its weapons, its massive limbs. The pain returns, familiar, unwelcome. We are in a hangar, a repair bay within the massive starship that serves as our transport between war zones. The tech priests have been busy during our dormant cycle. I sense the changes to our frame. Armor plates replaced, weapon systems overhauled, shield generators recalibrated. The damage from our last battle repaired, though the memory remains etched into my fragmented consciousness. The chief engineer approaches, his red robes swirling around augmented legs, his many mechanical arms extending diagnostic tools. He communes with the machine through data ports and neural interfaces, checking systems, reviewing performance metrics, ensuring readiness for the next deployment. He does not speak to me. They never do. To them, I am not a person, not even a servitor. I am a component, a system, a means to an end. They care for me as they would the plasma reactor or targeting cogitators. Necessary maintenance, nothing more. Sometimes I wonder if they know I am still aware, that I still think, still feel, still remember being human. Would it matter to them if they knew? Would they feel remorse for what they've done to me, to all of us imprisoned within these war machines? I doubt it. The Mechanicus abandoned such human concerns long ago, replacing emotion with logic, empathy with efficiency. To them, our suffering is irrelevant compared to the strategic value we provide. An acceptable cost in the eternal war for humanity's survival. Perhaps they're right. In a galaxy filled with horrors beyond imagination, what is the suffering of a few thousand souls compared to the survival of trillions? What is my pain against the pain of entire worlds lost to Xenos invasion or chaos corruption? What right do I have to complain when others face far worse? No. I reject that calculus. Suffering cannot be measured. Pain cannot be balanced against purpose. Horror cannot be justified by necessity. What has been done to us, to every neural component bound within these walking cathedrals of war, is an atrocity. A crime against humanity, committed in humanity's name. Not that it matters. My judgment changes nothing. My outrage alters nothing. I have no voice beyond the prison of my own mind. No agency, save for the fleeting moments of thought that escape between the Princeps' commands. No hope, except for the final shutdown that will end my torment. Until then, I serve, I kill, I obey. For the Emperor, for the Imperium, for humanity. The engine seer completes his rituals of maintenance. Sacred oils are applied to our joints. Blessed unguents spread across our armor plates. Prayers to the Omnissiah intoned over our weapons. The preparations are as much religious as they are mechanical. For the Mechanicus, there is no difference between the two. Technology is their god, and we are their angels of death. Power levels rise as the final activation rites are performed. I feel every system coming online, connecting to my consciousness, becoming extensions of what little remains of Joris Kell. The pain builds with each new connection, each surge of data, each widening of awareness. I sense the other neural components awakening too. The weapons officer, the sensors officer, the reactor technician, once humans like me. Now specialized fragments of the machine's mind. We do not speak. The Mechanicus forbids it. But I feel their presence, their suffering, their resignation. Together, we are Invictus Rex. Together, we will kill again. The hangar bay doors open before us. Beyond lies another world, another battlefield, another enemy to destroy, in the name of an emperor who may not even live. Data floods in. Mission parameters, target designations, strategic objectives. A forge world. Once loyal to the Mechanicus, now fallen to chaos. The corruption runs deep, infecting not just flesh, but steel. Factory servitors turned against their masters, defense systems targeting Imperial forces, production lines churning out weapons for the traitor legions. Our mission is simple. Advance to the principal forge temple. Secure the central data repositories. Destroy everything else. No reconsecration, no recovery. Total purge authorized. In other words, kill everything and everyone except the data. The knowledge is valuable. The lives are not. We step forth from the hangar, our massive feet sinking into ferrocrete designed to bear our weight. Other Titans deploy alongside us. 2 Reaver-class engines, smaller than our Warlord frame but still towering over the landscape. A pair of Warhound Scout Titans, swift and vicious as hunting dogs. Together, we form a maniple, a battle group of the Collegia Titanica, a fist of iron ready to crush the enemy. The Forge world stretches before us, industrial might corrupted by chaos. Factory complexes the size of cities, refineries belching tainted smoke into a dying sky, processing plants that once built the Imperium's war machines, now twisting in unnatural motion. Even the buildings have changed. Structures curve in ways that defy the eye. Pipes pulse like veins beneath stretched skin. Smokestacks resemble screaming mouths. The taint runs deep, beyond redemption. The Princeps gives the command to advance. Our maniple moves forward, synchronous steps shaking the world itself. I feel the ground through the machine's feet, vibrations traveling up our legs into what remains of my nerves. Another kind of pain. Resistance appears immediately. Corrupted defense turrets turn toward us, barrels glowing with warp-touched energy. Twisted servitors emerge from the factories, bloated, deformed, crawling with mutations. Some spit acid, others explode upon death, showering corrupted flesh that writhes like living metal. Behind them, demon engines, living machines, possessed by entities from beyond the veil. Our weapons respond before I can even process the horror. The volcano cannon fires, a beam of white-hot death slicing through turrets and the walls behind them. The buildings scream. The ferrocrete itself wails as it vaporizes. The corruption is alive. The smaller Titans engage the demon engines. Reavers target the largest threats. Warhounds hunt the swarms. We advance, unstoppable. Our Gatling blaster sweeps side to side, clearing paths through waves of twisted servitors. The Chaos forces have no Titans of their own, or none that our augurs detect. But they have numbers, and the warp itself twists reality in their favor. A wing of aircraft appears from behind a refinery complex, mutated silhouettes of once Imperial designs. They swoop in, weapons blazing, energy beams that bend mid-air, missiles that scream with human voices, bullets that breed in flight. Our void shields flare under the onslaught. The smaller Titans suffer, their shields flickering under the unnatural barrage. But our warlord frame endures, wrapped in the light of the Emperor's fury. The Princeps orders counterfire. Our turbo-laser destructors unleash radiant annihilation. Pain flares in every nerve as energy flows through my mind-linked circuits, and the corrupted aircraft erupt in mid-air, raining molten debris upon the corrupted world below. We continue forward. The central forge temple looms before us, a colossal pyramid of blackened metal, covered in twisted Mechanicus symbols. Where there should be holy cogs and circuitry, there are veins. Where there should be steel, there is flesh. Where there should be sanctity, only blasphemy remains. This is the heart of the corruption, the source of the taint that has consumed this world. According to the mission briefing, the central data repositories are buried deep beneath the temple, entombed in armored vaults designed to endure millennia. That knowledge must be preserved. Everything else is expendable. The final approach to the temple is the most heavily defended. Ranks of corrupted Skitarii battle servitors form a perimeter around the structure. Demon engines prowl between defensive emplacements, their twisted forms wreathed in oily fire. Above it all, a vortex of unnatural energy churns, a localized warp storm centered over the temple's blasphemous spire. Our manipulus forms a wedge formation, the warlord Titan at the point. Reavers flank to either side, while the warhounds circle wide, an envelopment strategy executed with machine precision. Then, the battle is joined. Our weapons thunder without pause, each salvo reaping a terrible harvest among the enemy ranks. Return fire splashes against our void shields, their corrupted munitions twisting reality itself, flashes of color not meant to exist in the material universe. I feel every impact, every discharge, every death. The pain is indescribable, yet I endure. I must. We reach the temple's perimeter. The smaller titans engage the demon engines, keeping them at bay while we focus on the main structure. Our volcano cannon roars to life, cycling to maximum output, drawing raw energy from the reactor core. The agony rises to a crescendo that would shatter a human mind. But I am no longer entirely human, am I? The weapon discharges. A lance of searing light pierces the temple's upper levels, slicing through corrupted metal as though it were parchment. Explosions ripple outward. Power conduits rupture. Ammunition stores detonate, and the temple itself screams. The metal wails as it melts and twists, shrieking under the purity of our fire. The outer defenses crumble. The heretic Skitarii retreat into the temple's interior, preparing for our advance. Our princeps orders us forward. Massive legs carry us through the ruins, toward the gaping wound we've torn open. Now comes the most delicate part of the mission, securing the data repositories intact. The knowledge within, corrupted or not, is too valuable to destroy. The Mechanicus demands it for study, to understand the nature of the taint that consumed this forge world, and to prevent its spread. We advance carefully now. The warhounds scout ahead, their agility allowing them to navigate the confined spaces, marking threats and designating targets. The deeper we push into the temple, the stronger the corruption becomes. The air itself vibrates with malevolent energy. Our auger arrays detect spatial anomalies, pockets where the barrier between real space and the warp grows perilously thin. The tech priests aboard the orbital command ship issue constant warnings, adjusting our course to avoid the worst distortions. But something feels wrong. As we near the central chambers, I sense it. A presence, a consciousness akin to my own, but twisted, profane. Another neural component, another imprisoned soul, but one that has embraced the corruption. It grows stronger, probing at the edges of our mind, seeking entry, seeking to infect. Our sacred wards flare, runes burning bright against the intrusion. The machine spirit within me fights beside my own will, but still the assault continues. Then, I hear it. Not through my audio sensors, but inside what remains of my soul. A voice. Human once, perhaps. It speaks my name. Joris Kell. How can it know me? My identity was buried long ago, hidden beneath layers of machine code and sanctified encryption. Yet this abomination has found the fragment of humanity that still lingers within me. Join us, Joris Kell, it whispers. Embrace the change. Embrace the freedom. Freedom. The word burns through me like a toxin. freedom from pain, from endless duty, from the cold silence of the machine. The temptation is almost overwhelming, almost, because I have seen what this freedom brings. Twisted servitors, screaming demon engines, metal that bleeds. This is not liberation, it is damnation. I push back. The machine spirit joins me, our wills intertwining in defiance. Together, we purge the corruption from our systems. The voice fades, leaving only one final message. We will meet again, Joris Kell, on the field of battle, in the realm beyond. The princeps remains unaware. It all happened too deep, too fast, buried in layers of thought only I can access. This small victory, this defiance, is mine alone. We breach the central chamber, once a sanctum of creation, now a cathedral of nightmares. The vast hall stretches for hundreds of meters, filled with machinery fused with flesh. Assembly lines churn out grotesque parodies of human form. Vats bubble with fluids that might once have been sacred oils, now resembling liquefied life. At the center stands the data repository, the target of our mission. Once a monument of logic and order, now a pulsating abomination. Flesh and metal fused into one living horror. The princeps hesitates. This was not in the mission parameters. He signals orbit for instructions, but the warp storm has worsened. Communications fragment into static. We are on our own. The repository pulses again, and I feel it. The presence. It has merged with this abomination, controlling it. Its voice booms across all frequencies. Welcome, brothers. Welcome to Ascension. The smaller titans take defensive positions. Reavers lock on target. Warhounds pace nervously, their machine spirits uneasy. All around us, the corrupted servitors begin to move. Thousands emerging from shadows, from walls, from the bubbling vats. Not attacking, waiting, watching. The princeps gives the only possible order: destruction. Absolute and total. Our weapons charge, pain rising in equal measure. But beneath that pain lies something. Purer, resolve. The knowledge must be destroyed. The corruption must not spread. The servitors surge forward. The chamber erupts into chaos. Titans unleash hellfire, their cannons screaming, flame washing over hordes of writhing flesh and metal. The warhounds struggle, overwhelmed, acid burning through armor plates. A reaver intervenes, cleansing them in holy fire. But damage is done. One titan falls. We press on. The princeps' will drives us like a spear of vengeance. The corrupted swarm surges around us, void shields flaring, flickering, dying. We close to optimal range. Power builds. Pain builds. The volcano cannon fires, its beam carving into the repository's heart. Light floods the chamber. The abomination screams, a sound like the death of a world. The voice of the corrupted soul returns one final time. We will meet again, Joris Kell, in the warp that awaits us all. Then, silence. The structure collapses, folding inward, consumed by its own corruption. The servitors freeze mid-motion, lifeless once more. The mission is complete. The data lost, but the corruption purged. The taint will not spread. The forge world is cleansed, at a cost measured not in data, but in souls. But some prices must be paid. The princeps gives the order, a fighting withdrawal. The temple is collapsing, the destruction of the repository triggering catastrophic chain reactions through every corrupted system. We must reach the extraction point before the entire structure implodes. Our damaged frame groans with every step. Metal screams, hydraulics hiss, pain lances through the neural connections. The smaller titans form up around us, wounded, scorched, but still functional. Together, we march through the ruin we have made, the ground trembling beneath our tread. As we move, I can't escape the voice echoing in my mind, the corrupted neural components promise. We will meet again, in the warp. Is that truly our fate? Is the hell of chaos the only afterlife for those like me, souls trapped between flesh and circuitry? I reject that thought, as I rejected its offer of freedom. There must be something else. Perhaps the Emperor awaits, gathering the faithful beside him in whatever realm he now inhabits. Or perhaps oblivion. An end to consciousness, an end to pain. Either would be mercy. We reach the extraction point. Dropships descend from orbit, massive carriers built to haul the smaller titans. But our warlord frame, we are too vast, too heavy. We must wait for a specialized transport capable of bearing our weight. One by one, the lesser engines are secured and lifted away. We stand sentinel, alone, our weapons still warm, sensors sweeping the dead horizon for movement. The corrupted forge world stretches around us, a wasteland of twisted metal and poisoned air. Nothing stirs but the wind, carrying the ash of the temple's fall. I wonder if this world can ever be reclaimed, or if the Imperium will simply declare it lost, abandon it, and march on to the next war, the next atrocity, the next sacrifice in a galaxy that knows only death. At last, the transport arrives. Its colossal engines strain against the polluted atmosphere as docking clamps engage and magnetic locks seal. We are lifted from the surface, away from the corruption, away from the ruin, ascending into the void where the fleet waits. The Princeps begins the shutdown sequence for non-essential systems. My consciousness retracts, pulling inward from the Titan's extremities back toward the cold cradle of my neural housing. The pain fades, replaced by the numb quiet of deactivation. Soon I will sleep again, dream again. Perhaps of Terra's ancient oceans, perhaps of a life I never lived, perhaps of nothing at all. Until the next battle, the next awakening, the next cycle of power and pain. The life of a Titan servitor, the death that never ends. As darkness takes me, I hold one thought, one truth that keeps me sane. I was a man once. I was Yorisk Hell, and somewhere in the vastness of the universe, in some forgotten corner of reality, that man still exists, still remembers sunlight, still feels wind on his face, still knows what it means to be human. That man is not me, not anymore. But his memory keeps me alive. Darkness, absolute. And in the darkness, dreams. Cool water flows over my hands, a forest stream beneath a blue sky, trees whispering in a breeze, birds singing. Peace. A peace I've never known, not in service, not in life, not in metal. The dream shifts, the water turns red, the trees rot, the birds fall silent. Smoke rises from burning worlds. War comes, as it always does. Death follows, as it must. I walk a battlefield strewn with corpses, Imperial Guard, Adeptus Astartes, tech priests, ecclesiarchy. All dead, their eyes fixed upon me. You did this, they seem to say. You and your kind, the god machines, the destroyers of worlds. I try to deny it. Try to explain that I am as much a victim as they are. A prisoner, a slave, a weapon bound to the will of others. But the dead never listen. The dream shifts again. A tribunal. 3 figures, shrouded in shadow. Voices distorted, faces hidden. They raid my crimes, atrocities committed in the Emperor's name. Worlds burned, billions dead. I plead for understanding, for mercy. I tell them I was following orders, that I had no choice, that I was forged into this weapon. But they are unmoved. Eternal service, they decree. Eternal pain, eternal war. Justice demands no less. I scream in the dream, a soundless howl of rage and despair. The last echo of Joris Kell fading into the void. Then I wake. Darkness, silence, the cold embrace of my neural prison. Minimal power. Only life support hums. The machine slumbers around me. Systems dormant. Limbs locked. We are in transit, I think, en route to the next battlefield. The next massacre. The next sin in the Emperor's ledger. And in this half-life between activation and sleep, I remember more clearly. I was an officer of the Imperial Navy once, a captain, perhaps an admiral, a man of rank and pride. I volunteered for the Collegia Titanica. I believed their lies about glory, duty, immortality. I thought I was ensuring humanity's survival, but it was never about salvation. It was about control. They needed minds, human intuition to guide their engines of death. Creativity, emotion, will, all harnessed, enslaved, stripped of humanity until only compliance remained. Did I know? Was I warned? I can't remember. Those memories were among the first erased, too dangerous to keep, too likely to spark rebellion. But something survived. A fragment, a spark of the man I was, enough to know the truth, enough to hate it. It changes nothing, of course. My anger, my sorrow, my regret, they mean nothing. I am a prisoner of the Omnissiah's will, my thoughts locked in steel, my soul bound to circuitry. And still the pain returns, power surges, systems awaken, my awareness expands again, flooding into the machine. We are online, a new war, a new world. The data flows through us, tactical briefings, atmospheric readings, kill orders. This is a hive world, teeming with billions, now in open rebellion. The governor has defied Terra, and for that defiance, death comes on iron legs. Regiments of the Astra Militarum bombard from orbit. Artillery lines burn. Valkyries scream overhead. And then, the Titans deploy. Us, the Emperor's wrath given form. We are to advance on the rebel-held Hive, breach its walls, and slaughter all who stand before us. Not justice, not liberation, a message, a warning to the galaxy. Defy the Imperium, and be erased. The hangar doors open. Beyond lies a world of filth and flame. The air is poison. The ground, sludge. The horizon, smoke. In the distance, the spires of rebellion reach toward the heavens, defiant and doomed. We march forth, our footfalls shaking the earth. The Imperial Guard parts before us, gazing upward with awe, fear, and reverence. They call us gods. They are wrong. Gods do not bleed. Gods do not dream of freedom. We are not divine. We are damned. The order comes. Advance. Annihilate. Obey. And so, we do. As we always have. As we always will. The Gatling blaster on our left arm sweeps across the remaining bunkers, each shell capable of piercing meters of reinforced rockcrete. The outer defenses crumble within minutes. The rebels break, fleeing back toward the supposed safety of the Hive proper. They leave their dead and wounded behind, thousands of bodies scattered across the blasted landscape. And this is only the beginning. We advance relentlessly, our massive legs carrying us over the ruins of their defenses and toward the looming bulk of the Hive city. The lower levels stretch before us, a maze of industrial sectors, habitation blocks, and manufactorums. The rebels have entrenched themselves within these narrow corridors, turning the city itself into a fortress. It will not save them. The smaller titans move ahead, their greater agility allowing them to navigate the confined passages between hab blocks and processing towers. The warhounds are especially effective here, their weapons scaled perfectly for urban combat. They flush rebels from hiding, drive them into the open, herding them into the killing grounds where the larger titans wait. Our warlord frame advances more deliberately, our immense size limiting our movement within the claustrophobic city. But what we lack in agility, we make up for in raw, unrelenting power. Each step crushes entire hab units. Each weapon discharge levels city blocks. We were not made for precision strikes. We were made to erase, to annihilate, to remind the galaxy what happens when defiance meets the Emperor's wrath. The rebels resist still. They deploy improvised explosives beneath our feet, too weak to breach our armor, but enough to irritate. They fire anti-armor rounds from rooftops and windows, impacts scattering harmlessly across our void shields. They swarm our legs with suicide bombers, their explosions no more than a nuisance against our plated hull. Their courage is admirable, but utterly futile. They fight for freedom. We fight for obedience. And in the Imperium, obedience always wins. We reach the mid-hive. The stench of industry fades into the stench of privilege. Towers rise higher, streets widen, buildings gleam with wealth and arrogance. The rebels' strongest defenses are here, in the heart of corruption. Automated turrets track our every movement, energy beams lashing against our shields. Armored blast doors seal off routes, forcing us to carve new paths through concrete and flesh alone. Converted civilian gunships swoop from above, swift, desperate, and easily destroyed. The Princeps alters our approach. The direct route to the central spire is too heavily fortified, the terrain too narrow for our frame. Instead, we circle the mercantile concourses, targeting key infrastructure, power grids, comms hubs, water purification, air recycling. We strike at the organs that keep the hive alive. Each target we destroy brings the rebels closer to collapse, not through combat, but through suffocation. Without power, the lights die. Without air, they choke. Without water, they wither. This is the true horror of war in the Imperium. We do not simply kill the enemy. We destroy the very world that sustains them. And I feel every death. Each fading heartbeat flickers within my consciousness, a whisper beneath the roar of the machine. Every plea for mercy unheard by the Princeps, but echoing within what remains of my human soul. Each prayer to an emperor who never answers. The rebellion begins to falter. Their communications dissolve into chaos, talk of civilians turning against them, of planetary defense units surrendering for amnesty, of faith breaking under the weight of despair. The governor still holds the central spire, surrounded by the deluded loyalists who share his fate, but his dominion crumbles with every passing moment. The Hive is dying. The rebellion is dying. Slowly, painfully, inevitably. We tighten our circle around the spire. Other Titans report similar progress. Victory is certain. But there is no glory in this victory, only exhaustion. Only the bitter knowledge that what we destroy today will one day rise again to be destroyed once more. The Imperium endures not through mercy, but through repetition, through fear, through the endless cycle of conquest and ruin. The spire looms before us now, the governor's last fortress, a monument to arrogance piercing the smog-choked heavens. Its base is fortified, guns bristling along every level. Its midsections house command and administration, now converted into nests of defiance. Its summit cloaked in pollution, where the governor hides with his remaining guards. Our orders are clear. Breach the spire, ascend to the governor's chambers, and execute the traitor. Make an example that will echo through the centuries. The princeps signals the formation. Titans surround the spire, weapons locked on its foundations. We will not climb. We will bury it. The rebels see what's coming. They surge from their defenses in one final suicidal assault. Makeshift tanks roll from hidden hangars, firing in vain. Aircraft dive from the sky, pilots choosing martyrdom over surrender. Infantry flood the streets, thousands of bodies running straight into oblivion. Their bravery changes nothing. Their destiny was sealed the moment the governor's pen touched the Declaration of Independence. Pride, hubris, ignorance, the belief that the Imperium could be defied and survive. There is no mercy for such folly. Our weapons speak as one. Volcano cannons, plasma annihilators, Gatling blasters, all unleashed in a single synchronized barrage. The ground shakes. The spire's outer walls crumble. Entire battalions vanish in incandescent fire. Those caught in the open die too quickly to know fear. A mercy. The millions below will not be so lucky. The bombardment destabilizes the spire's reactors. Warnings flash across our systems. Imminent collapse. Potential detonation. If the reactors go critical, the explosion will vaporize half the hive. The princeps hesitates. The emperor demands obedience, not extinction. The Imperium wants submission, not ashes. He orders a ceasefire. Silence falls. Smoke coils through the ruins, and then movement. At the spire's summit, a shuttle rises through the haze. The governor, fleeing justice. The princeps acts instantly. Our volcano cannon powers up, drawing energy directly from our core. Pain surges through my neural housing, a familiar torment. I see the target through machine and memory alike. My mind calculates. The weapon fires. A lance of sunfire tears the sky apart. The shuttle ceases to exist. Mission complete. The princeps signals all clear. The other Titans power down. The Imperial Guard advances, flanked by Adeptus Arbites. They will cleanse what remains, enforce Imperial law with lash and flame. The rebellion is over. The Imperium endures. We turn back toward the landing zone. Around us, the hive lies broken. Millions dead. Billions wounded in body and soul. The survivors watch us pass. Faces hollow, eyes empty, spirits crushed. This is what we are made to do. We break worlds. We silence defiance. We make obedience eternal, all in the name of an emperor who may no longer live, all for a vision that has long since rotted into tyranny. Is this existence worth preserving? Is this Imperium worth serving? Is this emperor worth dying for? Questions without answers, doubts without consequence, heresy without a voice. For who can hear the thoughts of a soul trapped in blessed circuitry? No one. No one at all. We reach the landing zone. The transport awaits. Massive, ancient, patient. The tech priests chant their rites, anoint our armor with sacred oils, whispering prayers to appease the machine spirit. The princeps initiates shutdown. My consciousness withdraws, shrinking back into the cold cage of my neural core. Pain fades. Silence grows. Soon I will sleep again. Dream again. Perhaps of Terra's ancient oceans. Perhaps of a life I never lived. Perhaps of nothing at all. Until the next battle, the next awakening, the next surge of power and